Right, hello there everybody, welcome to the Adam Clery Football Channel and the third part of our Alexander Isak epic. Men used to write poems, now we do YouTube videos, is how the do you get him into a Liverpool team that has added Ekitike, Wirtz, Kerkez and Frimpong to Gakpo, Salah and just literally the rest of a team that has already won the Premier League? Now the short answer is that in order to get him into this team, you have to bin off one of your other stars somewhere else on the pitch. But the long answer is that if you do a little bit of rejigging, you can in fact have it all. Alright, so first off, you might well be thinking, what, like a third video on Alexander Isak going to Liverpool? Are you not just milking this now for both professional and financial gain? And no? Anyway though, let me just do a really quick what exactly is the problem here thing with some quick fire heat maps for you. Hugo Ekitike, he is the current centre forward in Arne Slot's system, but more importantly, he's really good at getting on the ball, dropping into play, linking up with his teammates, as we saw in his goal at the Community Shield. Now, if we bring up his heat map from last season, you will see the two areas of the pitch where he does his best work are, first of all, inside the penalty area, because, yes, centre forward, but when he does drop, which he loves to do, he does it in this inside left channel. And we'll just leave that highlighted as we go on. Right, Florian Wirtz, the current number 10 in Arne Slot's system, actually doesn't really like being in this dedicated central area. We look at his heat map from last season at Leverkusen, and you will see also he focuses on this left-hand side of the pitch. He was always waiting for the run of an overlapping fullback, so he would start in this area out here to where he would receive the ball quite a lot of the time, but then he would come in field and do all of his damage in this part here. In fact, here are all his goals and assists from last season. Thank you, Opta, and you will see, while they are spread about quite nicely, there is a definite focus on the goals coming on this side, but also the majority of these assists, wherever they end up, the passes do tend to start in this region. And yes, all right, you do kind of have to squint to see that, but if you do, you will see that just the same way Ekitike likes this area, so does Florian Wirtz. But now, Cody Gakpo, the preferred left-sided starter for Arne Slot this season, you'll see when we look at his, that he prefers to get all of his initial touches in this left-sided area, because well, that's where he plays, but he is Liverpool's primary back post threat. Don't know why I've said primary so weird like that, but if you remember last season, whenever Liverpool were in a position down this side across the ball, he was pretty much the guy they were aiming for. So that's why loads of his touches are in a similar area, but also he is just good on the ball, and when he has possession, he will look to drive into that area, potentially to shoot. Either way though, you look at the heat map and this gap here tells you he does not get to the byline, he does not go on the outside of defenders. He wants to be coming infield to create or to score or to whatever, and that is again the same area as Ekitike and as Wirtz. But I'm still not done with this, because Alexis McAllister, one of the favoured options in Liverpool's double pivot, every bit as important to their work in the final third as Ryan Gravenberch is in their own third, he plays on that left-hand side, and when he moves up the field with the team and the ball, this is the exact area of the pitch he wants to be able to access. So currently Liverpool have a problem that 4 starters in this 11, you could all argue, do their best work all in the exact same area of the pitch, right? And just to answer a question that I genuinely don't think other channels would even ask, right? Is that actually a problem? Because football pitches are really big, and yes it is. If you have 4 lads all standing on top of each other or all trying to get into the same area, then the opposition do not need 4 players to stop this. They don't need to mark every single one of them. So you end up being really lopsided and they end up being able to double up in other areas. But no, you're right. Great question. Why am I telling you any of this in a video that's actually about Alexander Isak? Well, the point is that Liverpool, fitting all these players in, already have a bit of an issue in this part of the pitch. And the only time in recent memory that Alexander Isak has had to compromise where he starts on a football pitch, yeah, Yeah. Basically, in that first season at Newcastle, he was for a while second choice to Callum Wilson. Now, owing to injuries and to fitness, it was pretty easy to rotate between the two, but down the home straight, both were fit, both were available, and both were playing really well. So, for those last, 7 or 8 games of that season, Isak got shunted out to the left wing. And as a result of that change, he went from scoring pretty much every single week to 0 goals, 1 assist, and even that came at Leeds United when he won a penalty, actually attacking down the inside right channel, not the left. And if you've ever needed a really good stats only tell you so much example, this is the run in the team where he goes and does this to Everton, but is not officially recorded as getting an assist for that because of the deflection. Michael Keane was in hospital for 6 months with twisted blood as a result of that, and Isak didn't get a single extra FPL point. This is an unjust world. So yes, my point is that Liverpool have gone and bought one of the greatest goal scorers in the world right now, and while he can contribute from other areas of the pitch, they already have a problem in that area of the pitch. Like Florian Wirtz is getting criticised after 3 games in a Liverpool shirt. And while that is obviously very the internet, the reason is, as well as the physical difference between the two divisions being a big step up, he is struggling to access the area of the pitch where he does his best work. And so instead of pushing up the field and receiving the ball between the fence and the midfield and making stuff happen, he's dropping a lot deeper to try and find a bit more space, try and find a bit more time, show what he can do. But Liverpool do not need him to do that. Alexis McAllister is literally already in that area. So as a result, he's looked really peripheral. So then, with us all now having the mutual understanding that Liverpool already have a bit of an issue here, how do we then fit Alexander Isak into what would be their best 11? Well, first off, and hang on, I'm just going to take a second to limber up for this. Right, you ready? Because really important, okay? First off, there's no such thing. And I know I keep going on about this, right? But best 11s were a thing like decades ago when you had 14 lads at the club and 1 substitute, and injuries just meant presiding over a court case. Injuries. Yeah, it's not great. In 2025, you've got 60-odd games, 4, sometimes 5 competitions, an entire billion-pound industry designed to maximise physical performance, and entire teams of bad nerds who are constructing and deconstructing the nuances of every single game and opponent. The really, really top teams have a best 11, but on a game-by-game and an opponent-by-opponent basis, not just in general. And the thing is, Isak and Ekitike are not wildly different strikers in terms of what they are capable of doing, but they are very different in terms of what they do best. Ekitike is at his best when he drops in, links up, and finishes off moves, so he's perfect for playing against deep, low blocks where his movement can vacate space for others, but he is also good at playing on the shoulder, getting in behind. Meanwhile, Isak is the other way around. He can do all the link-up stuff brilliantly, but get him in an open game, making quick decisions and running at defenders. Nobody on the planet right now is better, in my admittedly very pained opinion. So plan A then for Liverpool should be just get him in the 11 and use him properly. Don't worry about fitting Ekitike in somewhere. There's going to be loads of games this season where you can do that. Just start him up top, through the middle, and let him focus on doing the stuff he does well. He's a fantastic partner for both Salah and Gakpo, linking up, receiving the ball, and also making space for them. And the fact he will be really aggressive and push defenders back to his own goal will actually make that space that Wirtz has been lacking thus far. So he'll benefit every other player in that front line. And I cannot stress this part enough, by the way. Like, Florian Wirtz as a 10 behind Isak is going to be very different to Florian Wirtz as a 10 behind Ekitike, because he's not going to frequently find that area he wants to be in already occupied by the man he wants to create chances for. So yes, I know it sounds really simple, but if you want to maximise Alexander Isak at Liverpool, then the cost of doing that is just Hugo Ekitike, at least from the very start of that particular game. But to be fair, the reverse of that, I would say, is also true. But yes, all right, okay, I admit that's a bit of a cop-out on my part, and probably almost certainly not why you clicked on the video. So what do you do if you want to start both of them in the same game? Well, my dear friends, the answer to that question may well come from this man. Jon Dahl Tomasson, the current Sweden manager who has many times successfully integrated Alexander Isak with Viktor Gyökeres in the same forward line. Now, admittedly, more often than not, he does that with a back three with Kulusevski in behind the pair of them, and that feels not a great fit for Liverpool because 1, 5 defenders is quite excessive, and 2, you'd have to bin off Mo Salah, and they're not going to do that. But alternatively, he has done it with a 4-2-3-1 with Alexander Isak as the 10. In that system, the objective is for Gyökeres to pull out into the channels to disrupt the opposition defence, while Isak makes very deep, very direct runs in behind to do the same. And as we discussed in the previous video about how Alexander Isak is really good, and I'm unironically very upset he's no longer at my football club, his ball carrying is sufficiently good. You can find him in deeper areas, let him turn, attack the back line, and open up the pitch and the situation for everyone else. And I'll show you a really good example of this, right? Just ignore the fact for 1 second that Sweden are 4-0 down. Let's pretend that's not true.
You're still thinking about the bad news, aren't you?
You've got Gyökeres here, who would be Ekitike in this scenario, and Isak here, who, just to be clear, is Isak in this scenario. He shows for the ball with his back to goal in a little bit of space, skips past one man, turns and drives. And immediately that's panicked the defence and pulled them all into this area, and his choice and execution of pass are both excellent. Now, handily, Sweden have a player attacking down the right-hand side, so in this scenario, imagine Mo Salah. And yeah, all right, the marking absolutely sucks, but the way they manufacture the chance from here to here, purely through Isak's balance, aggression, creativity, bodes well, I think, for potentially using him in that role. We highlighted this in the other video we did, but he is excellent at that drop and turn and is actually massively underrated for the passes he can play in the process. Like, this is one for Harvey Barnes that equalised against West Ham, and it remains genuinely one of my favourite things he did in a Newcastle shirt. Now, admittedly, Ekitike is not likely to make the same sort of run as Harvey Barnes here, but Mo Salah is, Gyökeres is, Frimpong is. So if you're okay with taking Wirtz out with the firing line, I think you can use Isak in this system, in this position with Ekitike. And just bearing in mind that whatever situation Liverpool start with, they're going to want to end up with likely 5 in the forward line and then a 2 and a 3. I think you can even take Gakpo out of this equation for Florian Wirtz with the understanding, right, just bear with me here, that Isak and Ekitike will both push up into here, maybe taking it in turns to access this space. Wirtz can actually drop in between the pair of them and split them. Then you get all the width down that side from Gyökeres, Mo Salah here, and everyone else just sort of shuffles up. Now, it's a big ask of Wirtz to be covering that much space laterally, is that the word? But I think that is genuinely a viable option. Now, obviously, you are absolutely boned in transition here if the opposition get the ball behind that fullback, but that has already been a problem for Liverpool this season, so it's not like it's creating a new one, you could say. In fact, actually, the problem I have created here, whether you've got Gakpo or Wirtz there, right, is the pressing in this system. Like, don't get me wrong, Isak is a vital component of a high press. He was great with it at Newcastle, but he is not the component of that press that wins the ball back. So if you end up in this situation here, you've got 2 forwards who do not win you the ball. He works to close down passing lanes, he puts pressure on the right players at the right times, he jumps on the turnovers and he scores from those situations, but he does not, and I'll just show you the numbers here, ever really win the ball back for a forward who presses. That's not his job. So there are obviously a lot of pros to this, namely that I think it would be very fun to watch, but there are cons also. But finally, because I went for a meeting at lunch and had 2 beers, right? If you really wanted to get every single one of your big banner, exciting, sexy marquee signings into an 11 and you didn't really care about the consequences, this is how you could do it. You have sacrificed Cody Gakpo, which I think is bad, and you are not making Florian Wirtz's life any easier, which I also think is bad, but this there is a beautiful simplicity to it. If you basically accept that Ekitike and Isak are completely interchangeable here, you've got one who wants to drop into here, one who wants to attack into here, tell them to take turns switching positions so they can do all of that stuff, right? Their objective is not to be wide. Their objective is to get into a narrow position alongside Mo Salah on the right. And from there, you ask both of your fullbacks to keep all the width in that side. You allow Ryan Gravenberch to drop between the two centre-backs, and that is, to me, a pretty functional 11 that might even be better in these transitions, because the two defenders will work back and you're nicely covered in the middle, than Liverpool have been already. Now, the thing is here, this would represent a massive effort on the training ground. I think you would have to get Florian Wirtz as comfortable in this channel on the pitch as he is already in this channel on the pitch. But if you go back to all the data and the heat maps and everything, he does do stuff here, just it's not where he favours. However, I would say if you look at Ryan Gravenberch, you look at Szoboszlai, you look even at Gakpo, Arne Slot has proven he can make adaptations to players' games. And while this one is not a small deal, it does feel manageable given the ability of the player. If that can work, if you can shift Wirtz over here, I get working on that tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, it's the international break, he's away, but as soon as he's back. So yes, how do you get Alexander Isak into Liverpool's 11? Well, you just put Alexander Isak into Liverpool's 11 and you figure everybody else out as a consequence. But there are ways to get him and Salah and Wirtz and Ekitike and anybody else you like into the same team and it not be a total disaster. I think it just depends on the game. But anyways, nothing more fun than picking an imaginary 11, is there? So Liverpool fans, please let me know in the comments, how would you do this? Do you agree with any of my ideas? You got any better ones of your own? I'm genuinely quite interested to read all those. And as ever, please don't forget, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe. It's a free world. You can do what you want. You get me across all the social medias at Adam Clery, Clery. And we haven't done a big hype package for this yet, but we have launched channel memberships. It's the last thing I'm mentioning in the video for a reason. Instead of one of the first, we're going to have a paid for tier, which sounds bad. Like we're going to take some good free stuff away. We're not. We're just adding some stuff on top. There'll be some more details of that later on. But if you want to sign up early, you're welcome to. It comes with merch discounts, which means we're having merch. So that's exciting. Yeah, that's it. That's the video. I'm now going to go to months of therapy to get over this transfer because he's really done a number on me. And until then, until that's been resolved, or football just comes back, I'll see you soon. I wasn't kidding about those 2 beers. Goodbye.